skalo, ali pa posnet tebe nekaj na hiter, da zapoješ, v čisto, brez vsega, ne. Sicer pa lahko tam tudi vzamem, tiste posnetke moja lahko vzamem. Sam pa se moram igrati s tem.
Ja.
Ljubim barvo, ven tako, kaj treba. To je treba zdaj.
Si krasma. Si krasma.
Veš kaj, lahko se tudi prišel džajt prišel. Ja, boš se pa mogo prisesti, veš. Imajo bi ven, da bomo tam ne noter tudi smaj. Tudi da veš me. Zato sem te tako ven dal, veš. Veš pa ta je treba. Kaj? Misliš, to že zmeni, da ti boš še malo ven, ko pravilno se tudi tako sedi, veš. Pravilno mi zdaj sedi preokotno, tako da gleda. Ja, tako se meni uči, tako me dela, ne dela darma. Unta drug, pa je že bil tisti, sem bil sam svoj. Da ne vidi, ja. Tako me on učil, ja. To so take osnovne šolske zadeve, ki bi ti mogo vedeti. Ni bolj. Ni drugače učil. No, tako mislim to, da veš, ne. Tudi, ko mene tudi mot. A veš, da mene mot, ko bi drugače? Tako vedno. Ne, ni vidno ta Boga. To tako, pod koto. Če gre tako, se stepata, pa sem če sliš. Tako se od mene, gre na isto. A misliš, da ona noče dela? Ti imaš sedeti?
bhakta vrinda. Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare. Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare. Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare-rama, Hare-rama, Rama-rama, Hare-Hare, Krishna, Hare-Krishna, Krishna-Krishna, Hare-Hare, Hare-rama, Hare-rama, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Sri Sri Panchatata ki, Sri Sri Gonita ki, Srila Prabhupada ki, Nitai Gaura Premanande.
Drage bhakte, dragi gosti, lepo pozdravljeni na Drage bhakte, dragi gosti, lepo pozdravljeni na nedeljskem srečanju v skupnosti Zavest Krišne. Hvala glasbeni zasedbi pod vodstvom na harmoniju Mataji Sabine, potem na violini je bila Mataji Amanda, Vidango je igral Mandragoš Prabhu, Karatani pa Arya Charita Mataji. Sledi predavanje našega gosta, njegove svetosti, Vladananda Swami Maharaja, z naslovom Ne bodi nespavati. Maharaj will also go on the Vyasa-san.
Advaita Gadadhar Sri Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaur Bhaktivinoda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Jayam Vishnupad Paramahams Sarvadakshaya Asadhara Sadhu Shri Sriman. His Divine Grace Shalasi Bhaktivedanta Swami Maharaj Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai Gaur Premanande Haribo Slava Zarani Bhaktam Slava Shri Guru Shri Garangi.
Dragi gosti, predavanje bo potekalo v angleškem jeziku, zato tisti, ki bi želeli imeti prevod v slovenščini, pri Dol Chandra Prabhuju lahko dobite slušalke, za vas pa bo danes prevajal Bhakta Luka. Hvala.
Om Agyanatmirandasya Gyananjana Salakaya Chaksurmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayamayam Tadati Swapadantikam Bandeham Shri Guru Shri Uta Parakamalam Shri Gurum Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagradatam Sahagana Raganatam Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Vrijana Saitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vasakans Vitamscha Hey Krishna Karna Sindhu Dinabando Jagatpate Shah Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Prishubhanu Sutadevi Pranamami Hari Priye Vanchakapa Trubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhyevacha Patidanam Bhavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Shri Krishna Chaitanya Pranitananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaura Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So today I'm going to read from the Bhagavad Gita as it is, chapter 9, called The Most Confidential Knowledge, text number 11. But I'm only going, this is one of the longest purports in the whole Bhagavad Gita, so I'm just going to read a summary that I wrote, which I gave a class earlier today with this summary. But the verse is, Avadinanti Mamuda Manushim Tanum Ashityam Param Bhavam Ajananto Mama Bhuta Maheshwaram. Fools deride me when I descend in the human form. They do not know my transcendental nature as the Supreme Lord of all that be. So this is just a summary of Srila Prabhupada's purport. You don't have to have that on the board. I'll just confuse people. Who is in charge of our... Okay. So in Prabhupada's purport, Prabhupada explains paragraph by paragraph, Lord Krishna is not an ordinary person. Lord Krishna is the supreme controller. His body is eternal, blissful, and full of knowledge. The foolish consider Krishna an ordinary human being because they do not know the confidential activities of the Supreme Lord and his different activities. Nor do they know that the appearance of the Supreme Personality of Godhead in this material world is a manifestation of his internal energy. He is the master of the material energy. If a soul surrendered to Krishna can get out of the influence of material energy, then how can the Supreme Lord, who conducts the creation, maintenance, and annihilation of the whole cosmic nature, have a material body like us? The biggest and the minutest are beyond that conception, so they cannot imagine that a form like that of a human being can simultaneously control the infinite and the minute. When Krishna appeared before his father and mother, Vasudeva and Devaki, he appeared with 4 hands. But after the prayers of his parents, he transformed himself into an ordinary child. In the 11th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, also it is stated that Arjuna prayed to see Krishna's form of 4 hands. Tenaiva Rupena Chatura Bhujena. After revealing this form, Krishna, when petitioned by Arjuna, again assumed his original human-like form, Manusham Rupam. These different features of the Supreme Lord are certainly not that of an ordinary human being. Krishna in his plenary expansion as Paramatma is situated in the moving, the non-moving entities as a super soul. So any neophyte devotee who simply gives his attention to the Archamurti, the form of the Supreme Lord in the temple, and does not respect other living entities, is uselessly worshiping the form of the Lord in the temple. A devotee should see that because Krishna is present and everyone's heart is Paramatma, everybody is the embodiment or the temple of the Supreme Lord. So one who offers respect to the temple of the Lord, he should similarly properly respect each and every body in which the Paramatma dwells. Although his personal abode is Goloka Vrindavan, and he is always staying there, by his different manifestations of energy and by his plenary expansion, he is present everywhere in all parts of the material and the spiritual creation. So again, Avijananti Mamudha Manushintanam Ashityam Parambhavam Ajananto Mama Buddha Maheshwaram. That the fools, they deride me at my descending in this human form. They do not know my transcendental nature and my supreme dominion over all that be. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Tinamane Namaste Saraswatam Deve Gauravani Vicharane Nirvishesha Srinivadi Paskyatyade Siddharna. So here Krishna uses the word mudha. Mudha means ass. This is quite a negative designation to give someone. Probably in the Western world it doesn't have the same impact. If you call someone a Buddha here, people wouldn't know what you're talking about. One time I was distributing books in the Philadelphia airport with another devotee, and there was one Christian Indian who came up to break all the sales up. So this devotee was getting a little disturbed, and finally he looked at the Indian in his eyes and said, "You're a Buddha." So the man turned white and immediately left, and he went to the police. And the police came and said, "What's wrong?" And this Indian gentleman said, "He called me a Buddha." So the policeman looked at him and he said, "He called you a what?" "A Buddha." So the policeman said, "You're crazy," and just walked away. So the man practically had a heart attack right there in the airport. And indeed, he went away. So for us, Buddha doesn't mean very much. But in Bhagavad Gita, Krishna uses the word Buddha quite a lot. Even Prahlad Maharaj, he used the word Buddha when he was asked by Lord Nrsingadev, "What kind of benediction would you want? I've come here, I've appeared to save you, I've killed your father. It seems like it's quite a disturbing situation. I feel a little generous right now. Maybe I can give you something." So Prahlad Maharaj said, "I actually don't want anything. It's all right. It's all right." No, take some. No, I don't really need anything. Because Prahlad Maharaj said, "Naiva dvije paradaratya vaitaranyas tvavirya gayana mahamrita magnichitak soche vimukha chetasa indriyartha maya sukhaya udvayatam vimudha." Vimudha. Prahlad Maharaj calls people mudhas. Actually, he uses the word vimudha. Prahlad said that actually I don't need any benediction because whenever I chant your holy glories, immediately my mind merges into an ocean of transcendental happiness, remembering you and your associates and your pastimes. And therefore I don't really need anything. But Lord Nrsingadev said, "But you seem a little disturbed." So he said, "Yes, I'm lamenting seeing all these vimudhas." Buddha means ass, and V means great. So Prabhupada said it means, I'm seeing all these super asses, not just regular asses, super asses, and I'm trying to make arrangements so they can be delivered to your lotus feet. So generally speaking, people take birth in this world as a Shudra, Kalo Shudra Sambhava, but by modern education, Bhaktivinoda Thakur said they become less than an ass, a mudha. So what does that mean? In the previous verse, in this Bhagavad Gita, Krishna had said, Maya dakshena prakriti suyate sacharacharam, that the whole cosmic manifestation is working according to my direction, producing all moving and non-moving beings, and by its rule, this manifestation is created and annihilated again and again. So the mudhas cannot accept that there can be a God who is actually controlling everything. And certainly when Krishna comes as the cowherd boy, they cannot accept that this little boy, of course Krishna wasn't so small, but compared to other people his age in Dwarfa Yoga, he was small. This little cowherd boy that the demigods, after Krishna had killed Aghasura, were proclaiming his glories in the heavenly planets, and Brahma happened to come by and heard about this glorious little cowherd boy, and there was even some exaggeration. He thought they're claiming he's God. So Brahma said, "This is not possible. My Lord, he's Narayan. I was born from a lotus flower from his abdomen. How could he become a cowherd boy?" Even back then, cowherd boys didn't have a big reputation. No one went to school to become a cowherd boy. No one got a PhD degree in herding cows. So it wasn't a very prestigious position, being a cowherd boy. So why would my Lord come as a cowherd boy? So he came down to personally see, and Krishna wasn't there, so he decided, let me test this cowherd boy, and he stole Krishna's calves and cows. Calves and cowherd boys. And he hid them in a cave for 1 year, his time. Of course, later on he found out that Krishna had expanded himself into the exact replica of each cowherd boy and each calf, and Brahma became quite impressed by this little cowherd boy's mystic potency, especially when each cowherd boy and calf that Krishna had expanded into manifested himself in an Narayan form. In any case, Brahma, who is the creator of the entire universe, the engineer, he was bewildered. How can this cowherd boy be God? Indra was bewildered. That how is this cowherd boy, he doesn't know about how the cosmic creation works, and he's giving misleading information, fact-checked by the demigods, and found out it was wrong. They shouldn't have stopped the sacrifice. So Indra became disturbed that these cowherd men in Vrindavan, they've been misdirected by a cowherd boy, and now they must be taught a lesson for the sake of the creation. And then Indra learned his lesson. So, what to speak of Indra, what to speak of Brahma, of course, what are we in comparison to these demigods? We are hearing that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and we may take it in any way we may take it, but it's not so easy to accept that a little cowherd boy could be controlling all the spiritual and the material universes. But Krishna says if we don't understand that, then we're considered to be a muda, a rascal. Probably use the word rascal. So a rascal, he thinks that God is a man, and they think that man is a god. So this is quite common. Some insignificant person, I remember one time I was sitting in the Los Angeles garden with Srila Prabhupada and a devotee named Karunda. And Karunda Prabhu was talking about a little boy, I don't know how little he was. He was a boy named Guru Maharaji, if you ever heard of Guru Maharaji. That Guru Maharaji, he was coming to Los Angeles, and he sent his representatives to the Los Angeles temple saying that you're worshippers of Krishna, and Krishna is coming to the airport, you should come out and greet him. So Karanda Prabhu told Prabhupada that, and Prabhupada said, you should go out and kick him in the face with boots on. Prabhupada was not so impressed by Guru Maharaji. And indeed, later on, Guru Maharaji was coming to a program and someone took a pie and smashed into his face. Next best thing to kick him in the face with boots on. I don't know if it was probably a good pie. I don't know how it would. In any case, people practically in India especially, and even in the West, people accept anyone as God if they just make that declaration. But Prabhupada said you should ask Guru Maharaji, can you show me your universal form? And when someone asked him that, then he said, I could, but you're not my devotee, so I won't show it to you. But he was declaring, we were distributing books in the Houston. He had a big festival for all his followers all over the world. Came to a Houston Astrodome, which held tens of thousands of people. And Guru Maharaji was declaring that the devotees of Krishna were his best devotees. They just haven't manifested themselves yet. So we all went, some devotees went out to the Houston Astrodome, and we were distributing Bhagavad Gitas there. In great numbers, his followers saying, we're members of the Hare Krishna movement, we're Krishna's best devotees. And he asked us to come out here, Guru Maharaj asked us to come out here and give each one of you a Bhagavad Gita. So we were distributing thousands of Bhagavad Gitas to Guru Maharaj's followers, and then Guru Maharaj found out about it and told them, they're not my best devotees. We lost the status. So the point is, what does Buddha actually mean? It means that one does not understand who actually is, what reality is. For instance, in Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, Ukramantam stitim vapi bunjana vagunanvita vimudo nanupashanti pashanti jnana chakshusha. The foolish, the mudhas, they cannot understand how the living entity quits his body. So unless one understands that we're all eternal, then one is a mudha. If we don't understand that we're eternal, that we're actually spirit souls in a material body, then our knowledge is meaningless. If we don't even know who we are, then what is the value of simply trying to change the different states of material energy? Material nature is made out of earth, water, fire, air, ether, mind, intelligence, and false ego, and simply to transform it from one state to the next has no real value to the soul, to ourselves. The real value of the material energy is that when it's utilized in Krishna service, then we can actually realize who we are. We can make progress towards understanding our eternal nature. Otherwise, we're just wasting our time here, going from one body to the next. So Krishna says the foolish, they can't understand that this body is changing and that they themselves within the body, they're eternal. Nor do they understand what kind of body they enjoy under the spell of the modes of nature. In other words, unless we can understand what body we have, then we won't know how to utilize it for making progress towards spiritual realization. If I think I have a jaguar. If I think I have a jaguar, and actually I have a Ford, and I'm trying to race my Ford like a jaguar, then I'm mistaken. So similarly, we should know what kind of body we have so that we know how to utilize it. As I said today in my class, I saw today on the internet that in America, people are believing that whatever you imagine your body is, whoever you imagine you are, that's how what you become. So they've been teaching that to children. Children are very imaginative. So now some children in school, they're thinking that they're cats. So in order to satisfy their desire to imagine themselves to be cats, in the bathrooms in the school, they're putting cat litter. You know, so children who imagine themselves to be cats, who can't use the regular toilet, they're using cat litter now to reinforce their consciousness. So this is the results of being mudha. They don't know what kind of body they have. As I said before, in one university, a university in Oregon, in Portland, Oregon, someone did an interview with the people there. And the man was around my size, maybe a little less than, I guess, how much is 178 centimeters? Is that like almost 2 meters? Or 6 feet? Whatever it is. He's about my size. And he was going up to the students there saying, if I told you, interviewing them, and he said, if I told you I was actually a 2 meter high Chinese lady. Would you believe me? And the students were going, well, if you feel that way, I guess we'd have to accept it. So it's come to that. You're 178 centimeters high, whatever it is, and you're imagining you're 2 meters and you're a woman, and that you're Chinese, although you're from Brooklyn. And people are accepting it. Whatever you feel like, that's who we actually are. So this is called mudha. They don't know what kind of body they have. They don't know how they quit the body. And yet, they're thinking they're very learned. They give each other degrees. But actually, their knowledge has been taken away by illusion. As Krishna says, Namam diskritino mudha prapadyante naradama maya pritiganam asram bhavam ashitya. Those who are grossly foolish, the lowest among mankind, whose knowledge is stolen by illusion, and who partake of the atheistic nature of demons, they don't surrender to me. So that's the criteria. If one can understand that we're eternal, and then in Bhagavad Gita, Krishna has explained that, far beyond whatever you can learn in the most prestigious university. And Krishna has explained how he's controlling the minute and the greatest through his agency of time. As Krishna says, time I am, and time is changing everything here. Nothing is superior to time. Or as Prabhupada says in the Bhagavad Gita, that everything is governed by the 3 modes of material nature. Therefore, some people are intelligent, some people are passionate, some people are lazy. Everyone has different bodies, and at different times we have an influence, different kinds of influence of the 3 modes. But under the influence of time and the 3 modes of material nature, work is coming into being called karma. So everyone is doing something under the influence of time, according to place and circumstance and time. We're doing different activities, but time here is controlling everything. Because everything is changing according to time. Nothing stays the same. The only thing that doesn't change is ourselves, although everything that we're experiencing is being influenced by time, but time doesn't change us, but it changes everything we're experiencing in the material world. So here time is supreme. And yet time is not being changed. So time is not changing things arbitrarily. It's all going on very systematically. A little observation, we can see how the sun rises at a certain time, the sun sets at a certain time. Everything is going on in a very orderly way. We may not be able to perceive the results of karma, but we understand that there is action and reaction. If we put our hand in fire, it's going to burn. Fire is fire, and our hand is the hand. And under the influence of the laws of material nature, fire burns. So the material nature is not working arbitrarily, it works very consistently, for the most part. And yet people cannot recognize they're under the influence of time, they cannot see that they're eternal, they can't see that there's an intelligence beyond the material nature. Although Lord Brahma says he worships Govinda because he's in control of the sun, who's moving exactly in an orbit, who's giving us unlimited heat and light. And yet, it's arranged in such a way is that heat and light is just adequate, for the most part, for our survival on this planet. That it's been all nicely arranged, and yet people cannot see. Pashanapi na pashyati. Therefore they're called mudhas. Although they may give each other honors and degrees and tell each other how intelligent they are. Prabhupada once said, one man is asking another man, are you intelligent? And he says, he checks his pocket to see if there's any money. The idea of being in present society, if you have money, then you're intelligent. That's all that's required. but actually intelligent means to understand the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna. So Prabhupada said our criteria to find out if a person's a rascal or an intelligent person is whether they accept Krishna as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. People may not like that. We may also, due to the cultural sensitivity, may be reluctant to tell people you're a mudha or you're a rascal. But we should understand that anyone who doesn't accept Krishna as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, they're actually a rascal. And because they don't accept Krishna, they don't accept his instructions. And because they don't accept his instructions, whatever they do is simply causing themselves and others problems. As I said before, the whole modern society, which is based, economically speaking, on killing cows and killing bulls, has simply created hell for everyone, not only for the animals, but also for the people living on this planet. And because of the cow killing, they've had to create industry, technology, and all kinds of ugra karma. Because without the bull for plowing the land, without the cow for giving milk, and without the fertilization from their cow dung, cow urine, they've created tractors and oil fields and industry to make the cars and the tractors, and armies to make sure they get the resources, and banks and economics and everything. They've created all this complication simply because they don't accept Krishna's instructions. And the whole society is involved in this ugra karma, and they're wondering why they don't have peace. They're wondering why there's always some conflict going on over the resources. Because they've stolen Krishna's property, they don't follow Krishna's instructions, and therefore there is no honesty, and there cannot be any peace. Prabhupada gave the example, just like a group of thieves, they rob a bank, and they go to their hideout, and the head thief stands up and says, "My dear fellow thieves, you all did a great job robbing the bank. All glories to the thieves." 1, 2, 3. All glories to the thieves. Really? What side are you on? And he said, now that we've stolen all this money, I only have one request to all you great thieves. Please, please, let us divide the money up honestly. So they're all thieves, they've stolen the money, and now they want to declare themselves to be honest thieves. So we've stolen Krishna's property, we deny his existence, we don't follow his instructions, we create a society full of ugra karma. As people have exploited this earth, as we know with Pariksha Maharaj, that because his father, King Vena, was a demon, and the people underneath Vena became demoniac to some degree or another, therefore Mother Earth stopped giving food grains. And therefore there was known as climate change, or there wasn't enough resources, scarcity, whatever. They had a great economic reset. Mother Earth wouldn't give the grains. So Pariksha Maharaj had to threaten the earth and said, if you don't give grains, I'm going to kill you. So Mother Earth, in the form of a cow, said, well, they're demons. Why should I give them grains? I don't want to give the demons grains. So the society, as it's progressed and becoming more and more demoniac, to the point now that they're not only killing the cows and the bulls and all kinds of animals, they're killing their own children, they're killing other people unnecessarily, whole nations are being wiped out by economic terrorism, by mass slaughter, by these belligerent demoniac armies. And Mother Earth is just becoming more and more scarce. As technology advanced, the Mother Earth made getting her resources more and more difficult. And therefore they advanced in technology, an ugra karma industry, and therefore progressively everything becomes more and more difficult. And they declare that they're actually making an advancement, that as they become more and more scientifically advanced to exploit material nature, as material nature becomes more and more reluctant to give us resources, they keep on declaring themselves to be making progress. But they're only making progress to going to hell by polluting the air, by polluting the water, by polluting the food, by polluting people's minds. Actually, it's a degradation, as so-called advancement is actually degrading human society. It's finer sentiments. Therefore, the only solution is to convince people that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead and that we should follow all his instructions. We should take his instructions, how to live in this world seriously and how to make advancement towards the spiritual world. How to discover how to live in this world according to Krishna's instructions, so we spiritualize it and we make our lives simple and sublime in harmony with his energy, the material nature. At the same time, we convince people that ultimately everyone has an eternal relationship with Krishna. And that relationship is the only relationship that can actually unify the world and make everyone here happy. So I'll stop there. Thank you very much. Any questions or comments? Yes. Do we have?
I was wondering. Your Holiness, I was wondering if the souls that comes from lower planetary systems and they come to this planetary system, are those the ones that cause troubles as rascals, and they like have an opportunity to stay here and develop the Krishna consciousness so they can go to, more advanced lifestyle? I don't know.
Well, I'm not an expert on people from the lower planetary system.
I was just wondering for some time now, how does that traveling souls
well, souls are everywhere in the universe. Yeah. There are people in the lower planetary systems. According to the Mahabharata, then even in Dwapara Yuga, at the end of Dwapara Yuga, those who are demons, because perpetually there's a fight between the demigods and the demons in this world, the Asuras and the Devas. It goes on. And because they lost the war on the ocean of milk, therefore they decided to send their representatives here to this planet and fight it out here with the demigods. So they sent Duryodhana, Karna, and others so that they could try to get a victory at least here on this earth planet. And Krishna defeated them for the most part, but they didn't give up. And Kali, who's on the side of the Asuras for the most part, he appeared as one of those fallen soldiers who was killed on the battle between the demigods and the demons on the shore of the ocean of milk. He appeared as a Brahmin boy called Shringi. And Shringi cursed Parikshit Maharaj to die, and therefore that was the beginning of really Kali Yuga, because Parikshit Maharaj was protecting the cow and bull, and once he was killed, and the cow and bull began to be unprotected. So there is a conspiracy. The Asuras are always trying to take over the universe, and the demigods are always trying to stop them from doing it. So that goes on eternally.
Like in a circle.
Yeah, it's always going on. It's if you come back to the next Kali Yuga, it's the replay.
Thank you very much.
Yes.
Hare Krishna. I would like to ask if it's possible to take up devotional service if we are more in mode of ignorance, or if we want to stay in devotional service, we need to keep ourselves always in goodness.
Well, I'd say we should try sometimes be in goodness. If we're always in ignorance, it would be a hard time waking us up. chant our rounds. We'll only wake up for prasadam. And then we'll go back to sleep afterward. So we have to be a little bit in goodness, at least chant our rounds and chant Hare Krishna. And even to be to chew our food in prasadam, we have to be a little in goodness. So some goodness is necessary.
What about like devotees more who are like also maybe on some other planets, like lower planets or something like this, that they are, or maybe also lower forms? So devotional service is possible. It does not depend on gunas, because it's always transcendental.
Of course it depends on guna. We ourselves, we're aspiring to become devotees. It's not that everything we're doing is completely devotional. When we're conditioned souls, it does depend. I mean, Krishna doesn't come, he comes here to this planet and speaks Bhagavad Gita. He doesn't go to Yamaraj's place and speak Bhagavad Gita. People are a little engaged there. So this is where Krishna comes and speaks, because this is the best place where people can be most receptive. Similarly, Krishna goes to the heavenly planets, we have his pastimes there, but generally speaking, he doesn't give them instruction so much. He just accepts offerings and things like that, because he knows people are just not that receptive. Here, this is the opportunity to actually make some spiritual progress, because it's not so good, it's not so pleasant here, and it's not so bad that we're just preoccupied, with the hellish torches in Yamaraloka, and we're not enjoying Nandakandana forest with the apsaras. So we're kind of in between. So this is the place we might listen to Bhagavad Gita a little bit. And we might even apply it in our lives a little bit, because we have some opportunity. Anything else? Hvala, Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavad Gita ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Gaur Premanande.
His Holiness Pradananda Swami Maharaj ki. Thank you, Maharaj, for your lecture. Sledi pa ples in petje pred božanstvi.
Kiva Jayo Jaya Gora Chande Arutiko Sobha. Kiva Dakshini Tai Cha Vame Gadadha. Kiva Dakshini Tai Cha Vame Gadadha. Nikate Advaita Shini Vasachatradara. Nikate Advaita Shini Vasachatradara. Kivavashi Ate Gorachan Radha Singasane Aruti Korena Brahma Adi Deva Gane Kivanarhari Adi Kori Shamaradulaya Sanjaya Mukunda Vasu Koshari Gaya Shiva Shankar Bhaje Ganta Bhaje Bhaje Karatala Madhurya Mridanga Bhaje Paramarasala Kiva Bahu Koti Chandra Jini Vadana Ujvala Kala Deshe Vanamala Koridala Mala Shiva Shiva Sukanaradara Preme Gagadana Bhakti-yoga deke Gorarasamada Kiva Jayo Jaya Gorachande Arati Kosoba Navikajavane Dagamana Loba Mao Vishnu Padaya Krishna Pristaya Bhutle Shimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Iti Namre Swati Deve, Koravani Pracharine, Nirvite Shunyavadi, Atyachadi Sakarine. Gaur Bhakta-vrinda. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Prabhu Nityananda, Shri Advaita Gadadhara, Shri Madhari Gaura Bhakta-vrinda. Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya, Prabhu Nityananda, Shri Advaita Gadadhara, Shri Madhari Gaura Bhakta-vrinda. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Prabhu Nityananda, Shri Advaita Gadadhara, Shri Madhari Gaura Bhakta-vrinda. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jai Om Vishnupada Paramahams Brahmanacharya Asadhara Satushi Shriman, His Divine Grace Lacey Bhaktivedanta Swaraj Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai, ISKCON Samstapakacharya Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Jai Om Vishnupada Paramahams Brahmanacharya Asadhara Satushi Shriman, His Divine Grace Srila Bhaktivedanta Saraswati Goswami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai, Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai. Shri Rup Sanatan Bhadraganath, Shri Jeev Gopala Das Raghunath, Shad Goswami Prabhu Ki Jai. Premjako Shri Krishna Chaitanya, Prabhu Nityananda, Shri Advaita Gadadhar, Shri Vasudeva Gaura Bhakta-vrinda Ki Jai. Shri Shri Radha Krishna, Gopa Gopinath, Shama Kun, Radha Kun, Giri Govindam Ki Jai, Mathura Dham Ki Jai, Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai, Mayapur Dham Ki Jai, Navadvip Dham Ki Jai, Jagannath Puri Dham Ki Jai, Ayodhya Dham Ki Jai, ISKCON Ljubljana Ki Jai, Gangamai Ki Jai, Jamunamai Ki Jai, Srimati Bhakti Devi Ki Jai, Srimati Tulsi Devi Ki Jai, Shri Panchatattva Ki Jai, Shri Shri Gaur Nitai Ki Jai, Gaur Premanande Haribo, Slava Zarani Bhaktam, Slava Zarani Bhaktam, Slava Zarani Bhaktam, Slava Shri Gurui Shri Garangi. Namaste Narasimhaya.
Namaste Narasimhaya.
Ladadaime. Hiranyakashipur Vakshaha. Shilatam Kanakalaye. Ito Nishingha Parato Nishingo. Yato Yato Yamitato Nishingha. Bahir Nishingo Ridaye Nishingo. Shingamadim Sharanam Prapaye. Avakara Kamala Varenakam Adbhuta Shringam Talita Iranya Kashipu Tanu Bringam Hey Shavadvita Narahari Rupa Jaya Jagadisha Hare Jaya Jagadisha Hare Jai Jagadisha Hare. Lakshmi Singha Bhagavan ki jai, Prahlad Maharaj ki jai, Gaur Premanande.
Hare Krišna, sledijo kratka obvestila in sicer med tednom ste vsi vabljeni na predavanja ob sredah ob 5. uri v živo ali preko Zooma pri nas in sicer vedski trajnostni življenjski slog, Atma imenovana predavanja, ki jih vodi predavatelj dr. Anton Vezjak, Ananta Das, ki je učitelj, raziskovalec, inštruktor joge in mentor. Sedaj pa danes imamo tudi obred Šrada in sicer Šrada obred, spoštovani gostje, ob nedavnem preminutju mame Mirjam Poljanšek, Mukunda Prabhu sponzorira današnjo vegetarijansko pojedino in vas ob tej priložnosti naproša za vaše blagoslove za njeno nadaljnjo duhovno pot. Par kratkih besed bo tudi Mukunda Prabhu povedal sam.
Evo, tisti, ki ste poznali Mirjam, danes nas je malo manj tukaj. Mirjam je bila mantrajoč bhakta od leta 1994, bila je profesorica umetnostne zgodovine. Naš Aleksandr jo je poznal zelo dobro skozi druženje. Tako da bi zaprosil za kakšne blagoslove, za lepe misli, pa da jo pač pospremimo naprej. Tako da to je to.
Ob tej priložnosti bomo še izrekli molitev, potem pa 3-krat bomo skupaj odrecitirali Maha mantro. Sledi molitev. Dragi Šri Panča Tatva, Šrila Prabhupada in vsi ačarje, ponižno se mu priklanjamo. Ob tej priložnosti vas prosimo, da naklonite svojo brezročno milost duši, ki smo v tem življenju poznali kot Mirjam Poljanšek. Mama Mukunde Prabhuja. Naj ta duša končno dobi zavetje, ki je v razburkanem oceanu življenja edino stanovitno in izpolnjujoče. Naj na svoji poti, ki je ne poznamo, stopi v smer svoje izvorne ljubezni do vas, samo izpolnitve. Prosim vas, odpustite ji vse napake in jo vodite nazaj v njen izvorni dom. Hvala vam za uslišane molitve. Hare Krišna, Hare Krišna, Krišna Krišna, Hare Hare, hare-rama, hare-rama, rama-rama, hare-hare. Hare Krišna, Krišna Krišna, Hare-hare, hare-rama, rama-rama, hare-hare. Hare Krišna, Krišna Krišna, Hare-hare, hare-rama, rama-rama, hare-hare. Najlepša hvala. Današnjo pojedino so pripravili naslednji kuhari in pomagači. Ananta Prabhu, Mandragoš Prabhu, Bhakta Vatsalaj Prabhu, Dinanath Gauraraja Prabhu in Bhakta Simon. Pozdravljeni, res je, še enkrat Hari bol iz srca, se pravi. Gaura Premanande! Gaura Premanande! Gaura Premanande! No, pa smo še malo apetit povečali, se mi zdi. Sledi pa še naslednjo obvestilo, se pravi vsi novi gostje. Lepo vabljeni oziroma čaka vas tudi sladko presenečenje pri naši Sonjadatri Mataji, zato po programu kar pogumno do nje. Zahvalil se bi vam za vaš obisk, želim vam prijetno druženje še naprej in vas vabim seveda ob 7. uri na program Plus, danes z Mandragoš Prabhujem in prijatelji, kakor sem razumel. Tako da lepo vabljeni. Sledi pa še molitev, ki jo vedno izrečemo pred prasadom, čaščenjem prasadom. Šarira vidajal, Džonendrija tahekal, Džive pleviša sagore, Taramade dživati, Loba moj sudurmati, Takačita katina samsare, Krishna bada doje moj, Gori bare jiva joy, Sva prasata nadilo bai, Seja namrita pao, Radha Krishna gunagao, Vreme da košli čitanja nitaj, Shri Pančatattva Mahaprasadam ki jai. Hvala vam, Hare Krišna in dober tek.